Stop for that.
Come up.
My thing keeps coming on. Morning, Doug. Morning, sir. Happy to be. How are you?
Yeah, I tried doing it, but it's broke.
I'd go get it.
No, they're broke. I emailed them.
The magazine, I get on mine. It's got some good art. Yeah. Ronnie Garrett, yeah.
Is that easy shop?
Everybody's good. What about yours? That's about much as we can do right now. I know. Like, I was so excited last week, but then I was so school was out, but then I was so excited when they had to go back. Send them back to Pam.
South River. Jackson Lake gonna do well fertilized this year.
I could.
Judas niece is a child psychology teacher.
Still raining, but I can't work about 5 years. Get up past that. Somebody has to get up here and take care of Kelly.
Now they're going to talk to Jason about
I heard he gets home.
Stuff like that.
Sure will, but you know.
Put it in there.
He used to, I think.
Good morning.
They don't get to see.
Yeah.
I thought it was all a joke. But let me tell you what, she's gone 3 times. She's got a hair bow, fork, and a wash rag. It's stupid.
She goes to school the entire day. Doesn't have time. She comes home with good body. No.
And I also, Judith told me to stop saying that. Because Carla, her niece, because they take it as an instruction, as learning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the workshop of the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners, February 25, 2020. Glad to have all these smiling faces out there. First issue, and one of our favorites that we're going to discuss, is yard waste service and explore alternatives. So, Director of Central Services, Landfill, Francis, will come join us.
Landfill, Francis.
Good morning, Phil.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, I thought you guys wanted to talk about yard waste.
I know we had some dialogue, Phil.
We did, and
at our retreat in January.
yes.
And we threw some different options of how to make it work. We know that basically 9 months out of 12, everything seems to go smooth and easy. Overall, it's the leaf season that's, I guess, our challenge of how to get through that process. And so you've learned a couple alternatives. I don't know.
I've had an additional meeting with Jesse Anthony, one of the owners of Best Way or Dependable, and he was concerned too, because, like you said, 9 months out of the year, we really don't have a lot of problems. Sporadic, it's going to be cyclical. People start cleaning up in the spring and bring everything out of their backyard to clean up because they've been, that's just part of the business. But the 3 months out of the year have been a problem. And he asked me, he said, what should I do? And I told him, I said, Jesse, this is what you need to do. I said, as far as I'm concerned, is get you another truck. It's real simple. The two leaf vac trucks that he runs through the 3 months out of the year for the heavy leaf season, it's just not enough. We have encouraged, and the department recommends that you bag the leaves, but we are going to have people that don't. They just choose not to. And if we're offering that option to not bag leaves or rake them to the street, he's going to have to put another truck out. He agreed to put another truck out. He's got a body, and he's just bought another truck. He told me that he will have a third leaf vac truck running on the south side routes, the heaviest routes, those 3 months out of the year. I did confront him about some of the things on the contract as far as not receiving route sheets on a timely basis. That has improved. There are days that I don't get them, and there are days that I do get them. But overall, it has improved dramatically. We haven't, since the really heavy leaf season, haven't received a call for anything complaining too terribly much or addressing yard waste in lieu of just the community piles. That there's some communities that have chosen to make a community pile, and we have to kind of find out by default on those. And that's something that we can continue to work on with the residents. But that's really where we're at as far as my conversations that I've had with Jesse. He did commit to another truck from October the 15th through January the 15th. Because the operating costs of those trucks average about, and I asked him, I said, what does it cost you a month to run a truck? He said between $10,000 and $11,000 a month, which is pretty accurate, because it costs us about that as well.
But would it be, and I talked to him on Friday, just trying to tell him that there's issues, trying to address them.
Sure.
Again, 9 out of 12 months, that's still C plus average. When you get to an A plus or A average.
That's a good goal. Yeah.
My utility bill will take 918. We're about to have an MCI adjustment, so another about 2%. We're paying them a little over $6 a month.
Yes.
Didn't know whether, instead of possibly taking us and give them a little relief in regards to the price, whether we look at possibly adjusting or compensating them.
I personally don't know if we can. That's going to be a question that I'm going to have to defer to Marcus some to where we can look into our finances. But if you know that the $3 or extra that we kind of generate over that, now by contract we have to absorb the cost of the disposal of the yard waste at $275 a ton, plus the cost of the disposal of the special handlings at our transfer station at $39.55 a ton. We bring in around 15 to 16, 1,700, depending on the year, tons a year at the landfill, and we have to pay fees on that. We have our state fees at $275 a ton. So, and also we take in about 600 tons on average a year at the transfer station for couches, furniture, and all that kind of things. To increase his compensation for those 3 months is something that is really kind of out of my wheelhouse. That would have to be taken, on a financial thing, and I'm really not, I guess, up on that too terribly much. But I'm not going to discount it. I can't, but that's something that.
Say the cost of running a truck is $12,000 a month, just to make sure that we exceed the level of service that we promised in some form and fashion. For 3 months, it'd be $36,000. So I think through this budget, as we're working through budget, that means that we look at how to balance that. Versus us taking over at a price of, I think it was $12.50 a household.
In the neighborhood, yes, sir.
In the neighborhood of $12.50, so I don't think we want to get rid of the service, but we can't afford to pass on. And this is just my opinion, not the board's opinion. So going to $12.50 for the exact same service versus keeping it in that $9.50 price range.
I'm open to any options. I mean, we'll do everything that we possibly can do to try to make it work. But
Well, we have a contract with the contractor, so we either amend the contract, go by the contract, terminate the contract. I mean, as far as just helping the contractor, I don't know
I'm not
that.
understanding the 1250, you're saying.
If we were to take it over.
If we took it over.
That's what the proposal was.
Okay.
Calvin.
But that's two totally different.
Exactly.
conversations.
Two totally,
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
I'm just trying to figure out how to balance, how do we make it work in the current situation?
Right.
Well, how you make it work is you have a contract and you hold the contractor to his contract.
Right, because maybe we're gonna get another truck, so then that's,
That would give us an enormous amount of relief, and it's something that I don't know whether he's resisted or what. I can't speak for him. What I can say is I know what it takes to service the cities, the residents at the level that they expect and what they pay for. But, and I don't know whether he was just trying to work it through more economically, what have you. I don't know. I didn't set their routes. I didn't set their business model.
Is he talking about a leaf vac truck or a grapple?
A leaf vac truck. He has a leaf vac body at his current, that when they took over the contract, they bought all of our equipment, if you remember correctly.
Hey, Phil?
Yes,
Was
ma'am.
that the problem on the south side when we went for probably, I don't know, some people say 3 weeks, a month? I'm not sure the time period, but I know you were looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the solution? I mean,
Another truck would have been helpful. It would have been, we had a perfect storm this year, okay? And I'm not making excuses for anybody. If we were doing the service, I'd be saying the same thing. If you all remember, when you went, one day the leaves were on the tree, the next day everybody's was in their yard.
Right.
Don't know why. I'm not a botanist or an arborist, but what I can say is everybody's yards got filled with leaves. Okay, and then you get your yard people to come and rake your yard, or you do your own yard work or what have you, and it just piled up.
Right.
The one leaf vac and the partial leaf vac that he pulled over from another county that they serviced was not adequate enough to service the residents on 2 weeks. Certain areas of the city, very, very adequate. Unfortunately, from East College down, it just wasn't going to happen.
Well, even when we had the service, we couldn't keep up with it either. So
Right.
you're going to have the problem during the leaf season pretty much regardless. So
Right.
How long
you
does it
either-
take to catch up?
How long did it take to catch up?
That period of time.
It took them at least 2 weeks to catch up. There was that many out there. There was that much out there. And what makes it even worse is you got all the holidays up. People want family to come in. They want their yards looking good. I mean, I realize that. But it was an enormous amount, and we got bombarded. Everyone did. But
It wasn't really an issue of non-compliance. It was just basically the demand.
if you're looking at it from in my opinion, and Mr. Smith, jump in if you want to there, in my opinion, if you have a contract is a contract, period. It's not open for discussion.
Right.
Because when,
The other thing, okay, you say for the 9 months, the other 9 months, everything runs smooth. Do they have to run? They don't have to run 6 days, or how many days do they?
sometimes they do, they have a 24-hour, not what they call a violation clause, but a 24-hour complaint resolution clause in their contract. They have 24 hours from the date of the service to make it good. Just because your service date was on a Tuesday, say, or a Monday or what have you, if they didn't get you on Monday, they have to the end of the day on Tuesday to get you. Because, but we have to be notified that you got missed. Like they missed your house, for example. You called us and told us that, hey, the leaf truck hasn't been by my house today, and this is my service day. We generate a ticket, we generate an email to them, and that's when the clock starts to tick, and they've got 24 hours per their contract to come to your house and service that.
So during the 9 months, especially when there's no leaves on the tree,
Right.
no issues.
We have some occasionally. You got somebody that want to clean out a backyard, or a lot of it happens, but it's not with any regularity. No, I mean you're going to get this in this business because you can't control how the foliage grows on your yard, in your yard. And what you decide to do, if you want to do some clearing off against a fence line or brushes, or take up your hedges and put new ones in, or what have you. So I mean, there's always things out there that give us an issue from time to time, but for the most part, no, we don't have an issue with those 9 months. We really don't.
How are they doing? I was reading through the contract on such as evictions. I mean, sometimes I'm riding through and should that be an automatic? Should they pick it
No,
up?
we have to sit, and Drew chime in, or Jessica, we have, 24 or 48 hours that we can't touch it or something like that.
Right.
So it has to sit, and then the owner of the property has to make contact with us, or code enforcement will go hold the owner of the property accountable. It's not the resident.
But they're able to pick that up?
Yes.
In protocol?
But I can't pick it up like on a Monday or a
Okay.
Tuesday. It'll have to be on a Friday when we can get out there, because he does not, or nor do we, have the extra vehicles to go out there and pick it up, because it's an eyesore on Tuesday.
And the staff notifies the landlord, this is how much it's going to cost.
Code enforcement does,
How
yes.
it's going to be paid for.
And the standard answer we get back is, well, it's not my stuff. So then we have to fight that fight. But they're doing okay with that. We're fine with that. Any of the special handling stuff, all of that, they've worked very well with us. It's the 3 months out of the year that brings us to this podium.
And when folks they do a major yard work, and once you tell them why you just call and get a special handling fee for $35, $1,500,
Right.
they're like, great. As soon as they're made aware of it,
We make
a little more public, maybe we can publicize more if you got major cleanup. Bigger than 4 months away.
Oh, sure. And it's on our website, the special handling form stuff. We don't quote exactly what it's going to cost you. Our minimum's $35. Now, we will send, when they call in, if you do a major cleanup, then I'll send our supervisor out to assess that load and be fair about what it is. Because I'm not going to pick up a $150 load for $35 just because it'll make your yard look good. But, it's a service and it has to be paid for. But we assess it fairly, and we put it on the special handling form list for Friday. It's sent to them, they dispatch it, they send it back to us showing the date and time that they completed that special handling. So if, for example, somebody calls in and says, I paid $35 and y'all didn't pick it up, then I can see if it has been, and then we can send a person out to verify, unless they put some more stuff out, because that has happened before.
So Phil, knowing what you know and moving forward, is it your best suggestion to continue with another contract? Just given the demand, you think that another vehicle will get us to an A+?
I can't guarantee that it's going to give us an A+. That's not going to happen. I can't, with all due respect, I can't answer that. Not when it comes to an A+. No, you're not. We don't get an A+ as a solid waste department from picking up garbage sometimes. Because
I just want to shoot for up here.
a goal is a wonderful thing to have. It is. But it also has to be flexible enough to know that your common sense has to be brought into it as well. Is it going to improve? Yes, it will improve.
Did you look at the consequences of maybe discontinuing it?
I did, and the one thing that I would caution us all on in discontinuing it is that we've worked really, really hard throughout the city to make areas clean, do community cleanups, stream cleanups, and all that kind of stuff. I just have a fear that it's going to wind up in every empty lot and ditch and sewer outfall in the city, unfortunately.
So, pretty much per your suggestion, that's something we shouldn't even consider.
I can't support that 100%. There's some type of service needs to be offered. The way to pay for the service is and Mayor Holberg has asked on several occasions, can we not even have like an on-call type service? Well, yeah, you certainly can. You can have an on-call type service, but you got to be able to pay for the crew in the truck or trucks to have that, because you're not going to be running them unless people call you for stuff.
And even on subscription service, you're looking at 1976.
That's at a 50% participation rate. And that's us doing it. And that's about $700,000 investment in capital.
But we've heard this morning, board, we good with us continuing to try to work with Jesse and his team and adding another crew this fall.
If I could add, I have also researched the option of looking at other people, at other, and they just run from it. I mean, yard waste is not something that fits into any successful solid waste business model.
So that's just one truck? Does he have employees for it? Did you say he does?
He would put on another crew, and that would be
Okay.
right. He would be putting on like a seasonal crew, or he may have somebody he can pull. That's up to him. But and the one fear that I did express to him, I said, Jesse, I cannot continue to step in front of this board every 6 weeks or so, or 8 weeks during the leaf season and discuss why you can't do what you said you're going to do. Everybody has issues.
Right.
I'm short 2 drivers today, but we're making it work. But that's what the thing about, like Mr. Smith said, a contract.
We have to hold him to it. Right.
I don't negotiate the cost of a gallon of gas because I don't want to pay that.
Right.
Or whatever. I mean, it's harsh, but it's life.
When does the contract?
Next year, I don't have that in front of me, but I believe it's next year, November of next year, I believe.
Correct.
So I can't give you a wholehearted recommendation, but I can tell you what we do have would be an improvement in my estimation. Will it be perfect? I'm not going to be able to answer that.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
You want me to? Yeah.
Thank you for this discussion.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, sir. Next item is another fun topic. Discuss possibilities for the future of the city pool and our construction of the Splash Pad Park. City Manager Kenny Smith, the Director of Public Works and Utilities Department, Dr. Brent Kelly. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Wow.
Okay. We've talked about this issue for several years as well, about the future of city pool. And we talked about it at our goals workshop about the possibility of closing the pool and building a splash pad. The appropriate place we feel like, Dr. Keller feels like, would be down on the flat area where the pool used to be, down below the tennis courts and by the main pavilion down there across from the golf course. There are advantages to having a splash pad. From a staffing perspective, you really have maintenance, and that's about it. We do not have a pool manager this year. We've advertised for a pool manager, and we don't have any applications. Lifeguards are always, as you know, a last-minute thing. We might get one a couple of days before we open, but we always struggle to get lifeguards, so staffing wouldn't be an issue. Smaller kids can run through the splash pad and just have fun while mom and dad sit on a bench or a picnic table or play tennis or whatever's going on. A couple of examples I gave you. Here's one at Gordonia State Park. This is one that the state of Georgia put in at a state park. That's in Reedsville. I don't think of Reedsville as being really an up-and-coming place, but I know that's a nice state park.
Unless you're...
Yeah, that's a nice state park, and as you see, it's just a simple splash pad. It's nothing elaborate. There's one down. The next one is from Glencoe, Alabama, which again, their population is 5,160 people, and it's 17 square miles near Gadsden. So that's a small town that has built one about $225,000 worth. As you can see, it's not elaborate. The next one is up close to the Beltline in Atlanta, a little bit more expensive, a little nicer. That's a park setting. That's a 50-acre park with tennis courts and disc golf and pavilions and grills and all similar to City Park. But again, it's just a simple splash pad. And those last two are just some examples. I don't know exactly where they're located, but we're not talking about an elaborate splash pad with a lot of mushrooms and water features. We're just talking about, most of you have seen the one in Savannah.
Yes.
When we're down there at the conference, just a simple splash pad. But The pool itself, we've talked about years and years, every time we put capital expenses into the pool, which this past year, we had to put I think it was a pump we had to replace this past year. We've got about $40,000 left in this year's budget. As you know, with the budget starting in July, we expend about half of it the first part of the year and half of it toward the end of the fiscal year. So we've got almost $40,000 in operating expenses left. We usually budget about $65,000 in operating expenses. The total pool budget's closer to $80,000, but that includes indirect costs. Just in operations, it cost us about $65,000 a year. So after July 1st, we'd have about $100,000, a little over $100,000 in pool budget. So,
What's the splash pad going to cost us to run?
sir,
What's the splash pad going to cost us?
I'm not sure. Do you have any?
I did the math. Depending on these are called surface pads, and depending on the gallons per minute, but roughly I did the math, it's somewhere between $17,000 to $22,000 because you're going to pay for the water versus recycling it because of the cleanliness of the water. So we would just have the expense, roughly your business expense would be water, your second, and then parts if anything breaks. So it's in the neighborhood, say $17,000 to $21,000.
Does the water just come out of a regular water system, or do you have to put higher levels of chlorine?
We'd run probably a 4-inch water line, look at the manifold system that they're suggesting to put in, and it strictly comes drinking water. Like the old days when we had the two 12-inch pumps, meters at the golf course and have potable water there, we just have potable water here and then discharge it into the wastewater treatment system.
We have a well that's located adjacent.
All the wells have been capped and closed and reported to EPD. Those two wells will be tox. Well would not probably pass here. Back in 2000 when we had the drought, or 2002, we drilled those 5 wells, and 2 of them on the golf course area. After 3 days of testing, hit a detox level that we couldn't use the water and put it into the system.
And then the water just goes through, the water would just go into the sewer line, sewer system?
We'd return it to the sewer, yes.
I've been doing a lot of research on them, and I know they're very popular and great. They're popping up all over the nation, and it's wonderful. And I think they're great. I think that it would be a great addition since you mentioned this to me, I've done a lot of research. I stay up late reading stuff. So the majority of when municipalities replace pools with these splash pads, the majority of those projects were pools that weren't really in use, or they were almost a near dilapidated state. So I feel like I want to wait and see before we make a drastic decision what the county and how far they're going to come along with our aquatic center before we look at, and I know to put a splash pad in, you do have to plan. We need to have that underway in budget. But I really don't want to, my position is I don't want to close something right away before I know what's going to happen on the other end, because I don't think a splash pad, I think it is a great, in fact, the aquatic center that they have does have a splash pad planned with it, wherever that will go, according to a plan I saw. I don't know what's going on. However, I know that a splash pad, to answer that question, Truman, it's 1/10 of the cost of a municipal pool. 1/10. There are other cities that have these. I'm friends with Mayor and LaGrange, and they had some issues when they had their very dry season with running them. So you do have some seasonal issues, which a pool, you've got evaporating water, and then of course this one does use a small percentage of water. I think it would be a great project to look natural, more like a fountain versus the mushrooms and things of that nature. But there are also lots of alternatives that are going on in cities. We have, there are such things as portable splash pads that cities are renting now that are brought in, and they're on a smaller scale, but you can put those in amphitheater areas, so it's not something permanent. And then there's also the idea of a playground that is, it's kind of like an all-purpose. It can be year-round, so you can have your water on, and then you can use it as a playground. So I don't know, I think you're on the right page, but for me, just to automatically want to or close the pool, even though it is a budget buster, I get it. but it's used, it's, the communities that surround us in Henry and Fayette, you've got communities that have pools, like Flint Mill. We only have one of those. So you do have, the use of municipal pools in those areas has dwindled because they don't have those resources. But, they do have it. We don't. So I worry about a splash pad. They say, they're for everybody in all ages, but I can promise you it's a toddler thing. It is, and maybe a grandmother thing. Or if you have a wild group of teenagers that want to run through it. I don't think that that's going to be for the best use and the best use of space for that space. I've seen the little football leagues practicing there. I think that you're on the right page, but I want to wait and see what we're going to do with the aquatic center before closing a pool. I don't think it should replace it, given that it is used. And it's a very popular site by all ages. I go through there every day in the summer, and I worry about losing our teenage crowd and providing something for children of that age, and that is who uses it in the summer. And I think it's just premature to, But I agree with the splash pad. But I don't want to close a pool just yet.
I kind of disagree with that, and I might be the only person. Because I feel like we cannot wait to see what the county is going to do. This has been a killer for our budget for years. And the counties basically, every year they come and bait us with what they're going to do. They don't even have a site for a pool. So due to the fact they don't have a site for a pool, what is that telling us? When 10 years, I've been on this board for 18 years, 19 years, and we've been struggling with this. The city is not in park and rec business. It's really not our job. And basically what we've done for all these years is to spend money on the pool every year and go through the same thing with the staffing and everything. Every year, banking on what the county is going to do. And the county come in every year, they have some kind of suggestion from year to year. They came in last year, they wanted us to open the pool last year because they needed for us to open the pool so that they would be able, because about some money they couldn't get unless they were in the pool business. This is another year, and they're still at the exact same spot. This has been going on for years. So you were saying with the splash pad, it's for children? Yeah. They took the money they could open a pool with and build pickleball for seniors. So, that's kind of their problem. It's not really our problem. I would love to still have a pool. But I feel like that was part of the SPLOST project, and that's what the county committed to do, and which means that they're responsible for a pool. So if we're running a pool and they're toying with it, then we're being double taxed because we're paying for out of the SPLOST project, and then we're paying for out our budget again. It was my suggestion last year that we close the pool. So, like I said, I might be the only one to think that, but a splash pad would be good for children, and if teenagers ran through it, even with the school board, they have swim teams. Somebody else should be responsible for the pool and not the city citizens.
Has there been any other discussion with the county in regards to them taking over the operation of the pool? And
Yes, sir.
Where are we at on those discussions?
We're about where Ms. Ward described. We have talked with the county. We've talked to them about taking over City Park wholly. They seem to be open to that. They would like to be in charge of the pool because they would like to go ahead and hire an aquatics director and get them indoctrinated into the pool business. They seem somewhat amenable to taking over all of City Park, but it gets down to the point where at some point you got to make a decision. And we're kind of at the point this year where we got to make a decision if we're going to have a pool or not. And I don't know how much longer we can wait on the county to make a decision.
If we made a decision now on a splash pad, would it be finished before the end of the summer? Or are we looking at this as a 2021?
Probably be late summer. But the thing about a splash pad, though, is whereas we have the pool open, 8 weeks?
You could have that
Out of the year, you could have it
6
open
months a year, whatever.
almost 6 months a year. It would be after the new budget year before we actually get it started for budget reasons.
Just throwing spitballing this out there is if we throw a proposal to the county saying the pool is available for you to take over this year,
We already did that.
and we make a decision that we're going to,
What was the response to us telling them that they could take over for this year? No response, any
well,
response?
Chairman Flowers has told me that.
What? We've talked about it, but nobody has gave me a definitive answer that this is what we are going to do.
If we
And
continue
we're-
down the same road, we're enabling them to continue with the same behavior that they've always done. So if we do the same thing we've done, open the pool, incur the costs, then next year we'll be sitting here in the same spot.
Well, unless we get lucky, and Kenny and Chris have gone through this year. We got lucky with the last pool manager. The one prior to that almost got us in big trouble. Okay, if you remember that couple altercations we had. We have nobody qualified at this time to open that pool. And no lifeguards. And this year is a whole lot more sketchier than it's ever been for a pool manager. So you're going to have to take that into consideration.
If we had to take a vote on it, I would not be in favor of closing the pool, simply because of the people that live in the area. It's the district I represent, even though we all represent the entire city. I have to take into consideration those kids who live in that area, who they have no other way to get any water safety, to go swimming. There's not many residents in that area that has a swimming pool in their backyard that they're able to go and enjoy water. So if I just had to vote on it, I wouldn't be in, even though I understand clearly what everyone is saying, hopefully the county will do what they're supposed to do. But until then, I would not be in favor of closing the swimming pool for the people that use it.
So this is my question. I would say that in general, I am conflicted about what to do. I definitely want us to have the pool accessible for the reasons that Rodney pointed out. But I also understand the financial implications of it. But my question is, we could spend the money and prep the pool and then still not be able to open it because
Exactly.
we don't have staff.
Exactly. That's what we're going to do. We do it every year. We have to start in March, finish it up by the middle of April. We have to get it approved by public health, and the swimming team is usually in there by the second week of May.
So we could potentially open it and it not be a public facility. It would just be open to those who bring their own, like the swimming team who is qualified.
They rent it, right?
So if we threw a proposal to the county, and I know it's offering them that we would pay them, say, $40,000 to take over operation this year, and from this point on, it's theirs, is that an option this board might would consider?
Is that just the pool? Is that the tower?
No, the pool, the situation of the pool this year.
What did you just say?
That since we've got 40,000 budget in the 2020 budget, and saying, we need you to take it, here's our peace offering, we'll pay $40,000 towards the cost this year, which is half.
If we are, let's just say that hypothetically works, and the county takes control of the pool or even the park, are we still in the conversation about the splash pad, or we're removed from that?
No, I wouldn't build a splash pad in a county park.
Right, of course not. That's what I meant. It all really depends on if we're able to make this work or negotiate with the county, which I know, Cynthia, I know what you're saying. Of course, I'm new, so if y'all have been going through this every year, and we're in the same boat, I didn't really realize it's been going on that long. I mean, what needs to give? I mean, it's just...
The county has been, in 1998, Jessica's mom and I were part of the 1998 splosh. There was a natatorium and a swimming pool. That's how old I am. I see you looking already. Okay. And we successfully passed a splosh with a swimming pool on it. This is 2019, okay, 2 decades later, and we're still waiting on the county to pony up what they said they were going to do to start with. Okay, so I mean, it's time for somebody to make a real management decision on what we're going to do. That pool was built in 1971, ain't going to be around forever. So we're very fortunate that the pool is still functional and that y'all pump the money in there necessary because we went to a salt system last year.
But I think we're doing what's necessary for the residents. I don't think those children that live in that neighborhood or anyone that use that pool are really concerned about what the city and the county are doing. Now we can, continue to fight with them about that, but who's caught in the middle of it?
Right.
Is the people who use the pool. And I just, as a kid growing up, that's where I went to the swimming pool. And I don't...
It's packed. I mean, I go through there
I would
every
hate to
day.
be caught in the middle because the county made a promise in 1998 and they're not fulfilling their duties. So we're going to tell those children, hey, go down there and see the Spalding County Board of Commissioners and their county manager and tell them you don't have anywhere to go swim, or we're just going to fund the pool. And
I'd like to offer that we offer $40,000 of our budget this year and offer the pool to the county to take it.
I don't want to offer them any money. I want to send them the same type of letter that they send us. It gives us 2 weeks to respond and tell them that they need to make a decision about it, or we have to make a decision that excludes them from the process. Because we will sit here, as is our pattern in communication with them, we will sit here for the entirety of the year trying to have a discussion with them. They haven't had any significant discussion with us, so offering them money to bait them into it when they haven't shown any genuine interest in it, to me, is pointless. But all we've done is put ourselves out and try to give our money away. So I don't think that is the answer, but I think holding them accountable in the same way that they attempt to hold us accountable, where if we are not kind enough to do what they're asking us to do, that we'll be responsible for the detriment of the city and the county, then make it clear to them that if they don't do what they need to do, they could potentially be the ones that are responsible for the detriment. Because that's what it is. We're having an entire discussion about what we could do with the county, what if the county did this, if the county did that, and none of us can speak on behalf of what the county's going to do, and there's not even an open discussion about them actually doing it.
And when was it that we voted on this BLOS? What year was it?
2016.
2016. What, 2020? Okay. And that was the promise that they gave to the community to debate them into supporting us BLOS.
Yes.
So, and like, we made suggestions even to give them the land to build the spots. They still baiting around. They don't even have an idea where they would put an aquatic center. I just don't want to keep playing these games well.
I need to say this right here, and then I'm a hush. This is when we have these retreats and we go to Callaway Garden and we sit in there playing games, singing, and what's on a penny and all that kind of, all right, I'm not going to say bad stuff. So when we're doing all of that stuff, and we got all of the players in the room, we got the school board in the room, the superintendent, we got the county manager, we got everybody in the room. Those are the times that we're away, we all locked in a room together, and we should be making those hard decisions instead of going to these places, having these meetings of fanfare to say that we met. And we missed all of those opportunities. We were there for over 24 hours to take care of that kind of stuff. And I agree. I'm Team City. Let that be clear. And I think that we're running a tight ship over here, and we're doing what we're supposed to do. But we miss out on those opportunities, and the people that lose are not us. It's the citizens that are paying for it each time that we miss an opportunity to try to work some of this stuff out. We have to have hard decisions. We have to have hard conversations that's going to cause some people to get upset. And you may not ride back on the same bus that you came on because people are going to get upset. But we miss those opportunities. And again, I'm going to vote, if we ever have to vote on this, I'm going to vote to keep the pool open. If it's voted that we close the pool, we may not have a pool. They may not ever do it because it's really not of issue to them. What was of issue was getting pickleball built, which turned out to be good. It was a good thing for the people that use it. But the people that I represent in the 6th district, not in all of Griffin that I represent, but the ones in the 6th district, they're not out there playing pickleball. So I'm trying to look out for the people inside the city that are using this thing.
Well, I think one reason that we don't have these discussions when we as a group go away is, in my opinion, they're not asking us where we want the pool or whatever. It's their decision, and they're making it, and I don't think they want us to talk about it because they're not asking our input.
We tried, remember? We tried to talk about it.
I mean, that's my opinion.
So to give staff direction, I don't want to close the pool, but I also want to figure out how do we barter a way of exchanging the operation this year for future operations.
I'd definitely be opposed to offering $40,000 or $40 for them to take over the pool. So I'm not in favor of that at all.
I think the money piece is more relevant when a decision has been made and if there is any discussion at that point, but certainly not as the opener to the discussion. So I'm not in favor at this time of having a monetary discussion with them about taking over the board.
Going back to the splash pad, thank you, Dr. Keller. I mean, it's tremendous work, and I know that you all have been talking about this for quite some time. And I'm in favor of that. I'm not in favor of taking the place of another facility at this time. And as far as parks,
I don't really think that was the suggestion, that it would take the place of the pool.
well, we would close the pool.
Well, we're going to close the pool whether we have a splash pad or not. That was, I
You
don't.
don't have stepping for it too wrong.
No, I mean, the splash pad was just to have some water feature there for the kids to have the availability to cool
Right.
off if we didn't have a pool.
My concern is that we spend the money and the pool is there and the swimming team can get in because they rented it, but the kids in the neighborhood who we are saying we want to be able to use the pool can't use it. So then it's just a glittering oasis in the middle of the summer that you can't access because there's nobody to open the pool. So then what do we do? How do we then explain, hey, the pool is technically open, but it's not actually open, so you can't get in?
Oh, they'll get in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How long have we advertised for this position all year, or since Michael left, or how long have we?
We started advertising in February.
Okay.
January. I can't remember which month. January. And we go through this all the time. I'm not feeling comfortable this year. I started in recreation. I really would like to see the people have an opportunity to do this. And I'm not trying to be a jerk, but at the end of the day, I got to be a realist and run a business. And I don't feel, we put in a person 4 years ago that almost got this city in a significant lawsuit. And we have to have a qualified person to manage that pool. I would like Duke to step up and run the summer.
Who?
He was an excellent lifeguard, but I don't think that's going to happen. But you need somebody in his
I'll turn his resume in later.
that's run a pool. You don't put somebody in, I won't use the word, you don't put a novice person that doesn't work for a living in there and say, well, I just need a summer job. It don't work that way.
Right.
Was it one year that we had to have a police officer?
Every year.
Every year we do.
Every year
We station an officer over there in the parking lot.
And that's why, one of the reasons why it's so hard to get somebody to manage the pool. I've been over there and been right slap up in the middle of it. And it's not pretty.
Right.
It is not pretty.
I know someone, I just didn't realize we were already advertising for it, so I'll help you out on
We got some
that.
that already. There you go.
Put your application in Hollywood.
Yeah, no, I'm not me, but I do know someone, so.
Well, if we're not going to open a facility based on somebody that worked there in the past that wasn't a good fit, we've had some situations, city managers, city commissioners. I can go down the list of people that have worked at all different places in the city, planning and zoning. I mean, we could do this all day. I don't think that's a reason not to open it. I think what you said is find a good person that is a good fit, and the pool doesn't open until May, June. May. And that's what we do. We seek to find a good person. Just saying that we're going to give up because the last one was bad and the one that we had last year quit. I don't want to tell a child that hey, we're closing the pool because we can't find anybody to run it, and we're not looking for anybody because it's not of importance. It's important to me. So I'm not in favor of closing it, and I'll be in favor of trying to find a qualified person to help open the pool, just like we do for every other position, that when a person is not a good fit, we find somebody else to fit the position.
Is the salary the issue, or is it just?
This is hard to get people.
It's a tough. I'm with Ms. Ward. I'm listening. I feel everything we're saying. It is a tough job. We got an element in our community that makes it hard to go in some of these public places. There's some kids come over there to the pool in gangs. They bring guns. It's rough. It is a rough job, but they have police officers at the schools. They have to put police officers in the high schools, in the middle schools. We don't close those down. We weed out those who don't want to be there and who are going to cause a problem, and you get rid of them. And they can't come back. They have to learn to respect authority, but we can't let that element cripple the lives of the people that want to do right. And I just feel that, every time it gets a little hard, and especially when it comes to people in that neighborhood, that we're just willing to give up. I'm not a part of that team. So I just think we need to try to find some good people or a good person to go over there, and hopefully in the near future the county will do what they're supposed to do, and then we can properly close the pool. But until then, I'm on the side of leaving it open.
I would agree that I'm for supporting keeping the pool open, but if we can negotiate with the county, whether it's the in-kind contribution or some way for them to take over the responsibility, I believe in being an advocate for whatever we can do to make it work, to get it off the shoulders of city staff, put it on the county. I talked to Commissioner Wynn Taylor, and they're talking about how they need to hire a aquatics director person. So
that's the same thing they said last year.
I understand that, but they're a year closer to going towards the pool. I think we should be in dialogue with them and try to work out a balance that will work for both us and for them to eventually get us out of the pool business. And if it means us partnering financially this year and they take on the burden.
Hey, how hard would it be for us to schedule a meeting with the county and the school board and say, hey, this right here is what we want to talk about?
Well, if you recall, we still have the service delivery strategy negotiations are still out in limbo. The 800 megahertz issue we're going to talk about in a few minutes. some other issues that are still in limbo that at some point, sooner rather than later, we're going to all have to get in the same room and have a hard discussion.
I think they're located right over there.
Yes, sir, but I can't demand them to show up at any given date and time. There has to be some dialogue that...
Is there anybody here from the media today? I would like to suggest, and you can quote me on this, Rodney McCord said, the city, the county, and the school board, or any other interested parties, there are some things that we need to talk about in our community to get our community moving forward, whether it be 800 megahertz, other service delivery strategy topics that we need to talk about, or the service delivery strategy, the swimming pool, anything else that anybody up here can think of, or anybody out there can think of, that would make our community better. Because we're not going to get better if we keep allowing distance and time to separate us, when all we got to do is just get in the room and hash it out for the betterment of our community, not for the betterment of city or county or to make somebody look good. It's for the betterment of the people that live here. Do your job while you're here. And that's the message that needs to go out. And we have tried. We've scheduled all these things. We make a schedule when we're gonna schedule to have this meeting, and it's time out for that. Let's put it out there that we are crying out to get everybody in the room, and let's make this happen.
You want me to give them a couple of dates that we can all meet and invite them over?
That would be great.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. I don't have a problem with any date. I mean, I'm with you that we schedule all this other stuff. I mean, yeah. What you come up with a date, and I'm amenable to any of it. If not, we just going. Everybody up here is going to campaign for another 4 years, and they're going to do the same. They got elections coming up this year, and they're going to do the same thing. And it's just the cycle is going to keep going around, and the people that are losing out are the citizens.
You want an evening meeting or a daytime meeting or morning?
Daytime preferably.
We can do that. But I want to go on record saying that my choice is a closed pool.
Yes, ma'am.
And that might be the best choice. If we get together and sit down and they say, okay, all right, we'll do it. We're gonna open. We'll take over the pool. And that'll sound and that's what I want to hear. That's
They'll
what I want to
say
see.
that they're going to take over the pool, but the condition is going to be that we open the pool this year, and then they'll have all these other strings attached to it, and we will be back here next year going over the same conversation that we went over last year, next year about the same thing.
Okay, so we got one for closed pool. Mr. Brock, do you have a position right now that you want to?
Either way we go, we're gonna lose. It's not a winner in the group. We're gonna have to do, so I say close the pool. Probably should have done it, and Rodney, he ain't gonna like this statement either, but that golf course deal is losing money every year.
$2.5 million.
You know. Business-wise, the only way to do it is to do it from a business standpoint. Am I gonna make $1 or lose $1 million? So I say close the pool.
Mr. Tinsley?
I'm in favor right now of selling the entire thing to the county. The pool, $50,000, $60,000, that's 10% of what it costs us to maintain that golf course. We're losing the tune of $500,000 for $450,000 a year on that golf course. I just say turn it all over to the county if they'll take it, including the pool. But if they don't want that, we can't staff the pool, so it's not going to be open if we can't staff it. You don't have a staff for the splash pad, so I'll be in favor of a splash pad.
I don't know what the financial situation is of the county. My best guess would say that it's pool at best.
That's what?
They can't come to a table and negotiate from no strings at all they have. They don't have any strings. Without that, it's going to come back to the thing again. We're going to end up giving them $40,000 for one season in the swimming pool.
Well, they do have an award-winning Parks and Recreation department. I mean, that's one of the things that they're extremely good at. And I think financially, it would be very little financial burden on them to take over City Park. They have impact fees for recreation. They're in much better shape when it comes to a pool and an aquatic center and a park as far as that goes than we are financially, because they have more ability to raise money through impact fees and sales tax than we do to promote parks and recreation.
Anything else? Work towards getting a meeting in the next 30 days with the county.
When do we have to absolutely make a decision about the pool for this year? I know y'all said something about March. Is that like...
I mean, it depends on when we go in there and turn the pump on, what happens. I mean, we never know from year to year what's going to happen when we get in there and start getting it ready. So we normally do that in March.
So what is our
March to the 1st of April.
What is our tally so far as closing or opening?
I have on my notes, Mr. Brock is a close, Ms. Ward is a close. I didn't quite understand Mr. Tinsley.
Mr. Tinsley, to make it perfectly clear, is closed.
Close, okay.
Get rid of the whole thing.
I'm closing it with an offer to the county, $40,000, up to half the cost of operation this year to get out of the business.
Undecided. Conflicted.
McCord is obviously open, and Ms. Murray, I believe, is open.
That's right.
So there's 4 closes, an undecided, and 2 opens. Is there a particular day in March or a couple of dates, if you have your calendar, that you want me to throw out there, or do you want a daytime or a nighttime? Because we got a lot to talk about. I mean, there's about 4 or 5 things left in service delivery strategy.
If we did a morning meeting, what do we have on our schedule for the workshop in March? Just on the 24th.
I can't recall right off the top of my head. Customer service policies,
With the county. That's a long way out.
code updates, and customer service policies is what we tentatively have planned, but
Or that,
And that March, that's when...
we had commission on the 10th of March.
yes. Or if you want to have a morning meeting, is there a morning that is not preferable? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
I mean, the city and the county.
Just city and county.
I thought y'all said the school board.
How about the morning of the 10th?
10th.
Morning of the 10th.
Can we get on the moderator?
I want to be clear about what we are saying we want to have a meeting about, because I already heard like 7 different things. So are we having a meeting to ask them what their intentions are in regards to the pool, or are we trying to convolute it and have a meeting that turns into us asking them 47 other questions?
Well, we have 4 to 6 items in service delivery strategy that you guys and their elected officials are going to have to decide. The staff has gotten together and put all the service delivery strategy, the things that are not really arguable, we've got all that outlined and ready, but there are 4, 5, 6 items that we can't make a decision on.
So this is our service, so we're saying this is our service delivery strategy meeting.
Unless you want to have 2 meetings.
Well, that's where I'm confused, because somebody said have a meeting about.
Parks and Rec is one of those items that needs to be definitively resolved in service delivery strategy.
And that's the pool is included in it.
Pool's included in that, City Park, the whole gamut with Parks and Rec.
news media take the school board out of it, just the county.
800 megahertz, emergency communications is another issue. Animal control, my God. 800 megahertz, animal control, animal shelter, parks and rec are the main things
We got the water.
that need to be.
Water, okay.
Water contract is not that's a whole separate issue. That's not a service delivery strategy issue.
We need to have a meeting on that pretty shortly, don't we?
We're actually meeting with staff this afternoon to go over the comprehensive annual financial report and how those numbers go into the rate which they ask for, to show them the rate model. So we're doing that this afternoon. So they have a meeting next Wednesday. The Water Authority meets next Wednesday morning. No, tomorrow morning. They meet tomorrow morning to discuss. So we should be closer on the water contract.
Good.
But that's not a SDS issue. So you want me to invite them over the morning of the 10th?
Yep.
Be there, be square?
Yes.
9 o'clock here?
Yep.
Okay?
I don't know if I
Well, I
can
have to go to the dentist that day.
be here. Me too.
What time's y'all's dentist appointment?
I'm just kidding.
Mine's at 9 o'clock. I mean, y'all don't have to have me, but.
I think we
Y'all want to come here and argue? Okay, well, I gotta go to the dentist that day on the 10th. Can I tell y'all tonight if I can change my dentist appointment?
Your money. It's good.
Sure.
They'll let you change it. Here.
Or we
I can't wait another 6 months to get my teeth cleaned.
can start at 10 that morning.
Okay. So I think my appointment is at like 9:30. So I can do 10. I'm just saying, y'all want me to come argue? I gotta go to the
10?
10. We throw lunch in there and go till 2 if y'all want to go.
No, I'm just gonna go to
Here or
I'll-
historic city hall?
Here.
Do it here. And I'll just give you a heads up that it's not going to be comfortable.
That's
Staff has already done all we can do, and it's not going to be comfortable discussion.
It probably can't be no more uncomfortable than this being this morning.
I would say that it probably is,
So 10 o'clock on the day.
because there will be some hard decisions that have to be made.
Okay.
Somebody gonna have a mid-Romney moment, that's all.
Check my balance.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Yes, sir.
We're going to move on to the next item, discuss updates of Griffin Power's policies and procedures. Electric Director Jennifer Freeman, welcome.
Welcome.
Good morning. Well, I'm happy to report that I anticipate this being a much easier conversation than the last.
Rates going down?
So we've updated our policies and procedures. The last one that we're working from was updated in 2005, so we saw the need to update some items. We highlighted a few areas where we get the most citizen questions or comments for you guys to look at. The first being tree removal. A lot of times we have questions of whether we will trim limbs that are hanging over their service lines, and we won't. We just trim what's over, our lines on the right-of-way. Everything else is the customer's responsibility. In case of a storm, we go through and we cut up the trees, and we will stack up the limbs or debris or tree or whatever on the customer's property, and that's their responsibility to dispose of that. The next area that we highlighted was underground service and overhead areas. We do have customers that want to take their service from the road to their home underground, which is allowed. We have specs and requirements in place to cover that. It is the customer's responsibility to cover those costs, and we have rate structures in place for that. We pretty much added the section on street and security lighting. That entire section is new. As you all know, we're going through and replacing street lighting with LED, and we're happy with the progress on that. Security lighting, we just need to make sure that where the customer wants to put their security lighting is in an area that we can access with our trucks. So we can't go to the back side of somebody's property through a gate that you can't get through. Metering and service installation and tampering, I think that you all are familiar with, we have tampering from time to time, and we depend on planning and development to do their inspections and that kind of thing, but we do reserve the right in the end, if we don't feel like it's safe, we won't hook to it, and we coordinate with all the departments that are involved, whether it be city, county, so we do have some service in the county.
On that area, we still have a procedure. If power's been off for 6 months, they have to have a life safety inspection.
Yes.
Is that included in the document?
I'm not sure if it's included in ours. We do, Kim, do you know?
It's customer service.
That's the customer service. So that's coming to you next month, but that is in that policy. And then the temporary service installation, a lot of times people are confused on that. We consider temporary service when it's a temporary service from a pole for construction purposes. When you hook it up to the meter that's on the house, that's permanent service as far as we're concerned. Now, we do have methods in place in our policies to where you can have it temporarily turned on for a certain amount of time to go in and clean, make repairs, that kind of thing. But terminology-wise, we do consider that permanent service. Temporary service is when you actually have the temporary power pole for construction and that kind of thing.
Jennifer, what is the trip charge to be reconnected? What is that rate?
It's different for different areas. So if it's like, I think that's covered in the customer service policies as well, but say it can be automatically turned on electric only from the office, I think, and you're in the city, I think it's $25. If they actually go out and turn your water off, it's more because they have to physically roll a truck and that kind of thing. We do have that laid out in a rate schedule, though, as to what those costs are. So do you guys have any questions for me?
Oh, great job.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. Yeah, okay.
Next item is to discuss proposed 800 megahertz intergovernmental agreement between the City of Griffin and Spalding County for the use, operations, and maintenance of the Spalding County 800 megahertz radio system. Mr. Smith is back to address.
Mr. Smith is back. So this is another one of those items that has been going on, this one since 2008, actually. Mr. Whalen has drafted a proposed contract to send back to them. As you know, we talked about the contract that they sent to us back in December, which was not a contract that was acceptable to you. So Mr. Whalen has drafted this contract that has been attached to your agenda item, which in essence, we would pay $16 per radio per month for all non-public safety radio units, under the assumption that public safety radio units are part of the 911 emergency communications system, which by the service delivery strategy and I believe by Georgia law now we have determined is a countywide function. So if you've had a chance to review the proposed intergovernmental agreement, we'd like to answer any questions and get your permission to send that to the county as an option to see what they say. And probably bring it back for discussion when we meet with them on that day that we talked about.
Kenny, we're going to do an audit to how many radios we actually have.
Yes, sir. This particular draft, we would back pay them for fiscal year 19 based on their inventory, and then going forward, we would pay them based on our inventory in conjunction with their inventory.
And replacement radios would be at our cost.
We have, yes, we've been,
That's what we're doing.
We've been buying and replacing and maintaining our own equipment, yes, sir. This $16 per radio per month is just for the 800 megahertz maintenance, the towers, the utilities, the maintenance on the towers, and the staffing that they have for the 800 megahertz system. So,
But when we have a problem with the actual radios, we're doing that ourselves.
yes, ma'am. We're replacing and maintaining radios ourselves.
So we're going to vote on this and to send to them in March's meeting. We're going to discuss with them
He
at
just gonna
the,
send it back. Come on.
I mean, if I have a consensus to this draft, we can go ahead and send it over there. Of course,
Gotcha.
we won't actually vote on a contract until we come to some terms with them.
Good.
But if you're good with that, I will send it over.
Go for it.
Yeah,
thank you, sir.
thank you.
And the final item is the pursuant to OCGA Section 15142-1, the City of Griffin Board of Commissioners desire to enter executive session for the purpose of meeting with the attorney to discuss pending litigation pursuant to OCGA Section 50143B1B for the purpose of authorizing negotiations to purchase, dispose of, or lease property. Do we have a motion to go into
One
closed
point
session?
of correction, this is potential litigation, it's not pending yet.
Okay.
Motion to go into closed session.
Ms. Ward with a motion, Mr. Tinsley with a second. All in favor, please rise.
Alex, you weren't exhaust there.